So, Ascendance of a Bookworm Season 2 has reached its ending, and I'm a little sad, I'm not gonna lie. But I'd be surprised if we didn't get a Season 3, just because of how much this show's fan base has grown. So I wouldn't be shocked if we got a Season 3. In fact, I'm kind of expecting an announcement eventually. But my immediate thought on the finale, and honestly this season as a whole, is, huh. And not in a bad way, just sort of like, huh. Anyway, to explain that, we're going to have to actually dig into this week's finale. But before we do that, I do, as always, want to give a big thank you to those of you who shared last week's video over on Twitter. So, thank you to Paulo Vasiliev, Sunyu Chan, Osiris99, Bubba Lubber, and Luna da Otaku. Thanks so much for sharing last week's video over on Twitter, everybody. And one final time, thank you to everybody who has supported these videos. I know we've definitely gotten a little bit heated in our debate, but at the end of the day, we have been quite civil to each other, so I hope we continue to do that. That said, thank you for supporting me in these videos. I really do appreciate it. So when this episode kicks off, it starts with them having to, like, pretty much immediately where the penultimate episode left us, right? So it's them flying over to sort of bring Mana back to that area of the forest where that big-ass Trombe had appeared. So we see the green scrub getting forced into doing the healing ritual, which I thought was very interesting. Now, green scrub is very reluctant about this, and in fairness, it's like a huge area that they have to bring Mana back to, like to refill that area with grass and life and all that fun stuff. And so when Green Scrub sees this, he's obviously very shook, and I don't blame him. This would be quite the feat for any of them. But it's very clearly like a forced thing. Like, it's not something that I think any of the knights were meant to do. It was just to show that Myne is very important to what they're doing, and to not treat Myne poorly just because you feel as though you have some sort of higher calling and higher standing than her. It doesn't actually work that way. And Ferdy definitely lets Green Scrub know what time it is. Like, he doesn't beat around the bush or anything. He immediately gives this dude the staff that's needed to bring life back, the magical item, tells him to hurry up and do it. And this man tries. He definitely gives it his best shot, but it definitely doesn't go the way he hoped. And honestly, there's clear tension in the air as he's doing this. Like, he shoots Myne this look, and it's not even like a look of anger, just like realizing how screwed he is. And Myne doesn't even look like she's enjoying this at all. Like, she honestly looks more concerned than anything else, which I don't know why she's concerned for Green Scrub. Green Scrub sucks. So regardless, though, he tries his best, and he's able to, like, replenish maybe a couple feet, like in a circle surrounding them. Like, it doesn't go that far at all. And when you see like the grand scope of what he was able to do versus what Myne is eventually able to do, it ain't much. And he rightfully gets like told off by Ferdy. Ferdy definitely calls his man out like several times in this episode. He is pissed, which you'll love to see it. You'll love to see Ferdy actually being, cool to Myne. So he grabs rips the staff away from him and freaking gives him like a boot. And Green Scrub is basically just left like trying to stand, because as we know, like mana, like losing mana takes a lot out of you. So having Green Scrub like give everything he had and then some to try to replenish that area as like a pseudo punishment for what he did to Myne, although from what I gather there will be probably more that happens to him. But it totally wipes him out. And so it's left up to Myne to actually give Mana back. And you remember how I said, like literally 5 seconds ago, that it's nice to see Ferdy standing up for Myne? Well, don't get used to it. So Myne takes the staff, and with it she shall do his wonders. Okay, sorry, good for you if you got the reference. But Myne takes the staff and starts to immediately bring life back to that area. And it's honestly kind of a cool scene. It makes Myne look like a badass. I know I made the reference earlier, but I feel like an even better reference. Actually, it's definitely not, but she did remind me of Gandalf. You know what I mean? The "You shall not pass" when he slams the staff down. That's what it reminded me of. I mean, in fairness, anytime I see any person like pound a staff down into the ground, it does remind me of Gandalf. So Myne reminding me of Gandalf. Why, that's a high compliment. That's high praise from me. But I will say I was slightly annoyed. And why is that? Why was I slightly annoyed? Well, it certainly wasn't at the scene itself, because the scene itself was fantabulous. My issue is that this man takes 2 steps forward and 2 steps back. 2 steps forward and 1 step back. He is making progress. But Ferdy, being cool to Myne and, really laying into green scrub, you'll love to see it. But then it's immediately followed by this man, giving Myne grief, saying, that was almost too much. It's be happy. Just be happy. And that goes for me too. Can I just watch a scene without feeling the need to dunk on Ferdy? I swear, Ferdy just tested my patience, man. I know people love him, and maybe he gets better, but man, it's been a whole ass season, with this dude. I don't know. In fairness, it's still a great scene. I still think it's really cool. I really enjoyed seeing that. I thought it was a cool ass scene. And then that's followed by the entire area being enveloped in grass. It's cool as hell. And then we get the wrap up with the gang all heading home. And again, like I said, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. This is the second step forward, where Ferdy actually apologizes for what happened. And he seems very genuinely upset and disgusted by what the other knights did. And I thought this was a really sweet scene. Seeing Ferdy actually take responsibility for Myne and actually feel bad that she was treated so poorly. It was, I don't know, just something about it made me go yes, Ferdy, finally. I like seeing Ferdy grow as a character. It's very slow. But when you see it in these little moments like this, and when he's beating on green scrub, verbally, and now that he's apologizing to Myne, which I don't think he's ever done. I don't think he's ever apologized and meant it very sincerely. In the scene, he very clearly did mean that he was sorry, and he hated seeing what they did to her. And Myne does try to say it's really not your fault. It's not even it's nobody could have expected that green scrub was going to behave the way that he did. And Sir Goodboy did his best to defend her, and it is what it is. Nobody could have seen that coming. He can't blame himself, but Ferdy does blame himself. He really takes it hard, and I don't know. Just it was a nice moment to see Ferdy actually apologize. And it is followed up by, just before everybody heads home, you get Ferdy and Cars and Myne basically getting ready to go their separate ways for the day, and Ferdy asks if she has a request, and he gives her the eyes of don't say anything. But of course Myne's bruh, my robes are destroyed. I need these for the dedication ceremony. See, I've been taking my notes. I need these for the dedication ceremony, and your green scrub destroyed them. So I'd appreciate it if you fix them. To which Cars laughs, and it's my man has a hearty chuckle at the fact that Myne is concerned about even at such a young age, women are so concerned about their clothes. And it's bro, okay, first of all, ain't nothing wrong with liking clothes, Sir Cars. You know what I mean? Guys and gals like clothes these days. But at the same time, this isn't these days. This is the medieval period. Well, it's not medieval, but you know what I mean. It's its own fantasy world. I get it. Whatever, it's fine. But what bugged me was Cars, she's not asking you to take her shopping, my guy. One of your soldiers ruined her robes that she needs for a ceremony. Nani the fuck? But at the same time, goddamn, he's a hard dude to be mad at, that Cars. I like Cars a lot. I really like Cars. I don't know why. Even when he says some dumb shit, he's hard to be mad at. That laugh, that mustache, and just his general, I don't know, something about Cars. I like Cars. I like both versions of Cars, but specifically this Cars I like quite a bit. So you know what else I liked too? When they explain well, she does need new clothes for her dedication ceremony. It is kind of important. He immediately without question is yeah, absolutely. Anything else? Just the way that he's sure, yeah, of course, no worries. I got you. And I really liked that. And what I also liked is Myne requesting that Sir Goodboy be treated kindly, since he did attempt to stand up to Green Scrub, but obviously there is that sort of social hierarchy where he couldn't do too much. So I do like that Myne says don't take it out on him. He did his best, but whatever you do with Green Scrub, you do you. I don't want to get involved. I don't want to put any more pressure on myself. Like, you do you, whatever you're gonna do. And I like that a lot. And this whole scene ends with Lutz running up to the gate. And, oh, my son, my precious son Lutz. Like, this whole episode, I'm like, what, like, eventually we're gonna have to catch up with Lutz, and he's gonna be pissed. And instead of being pissed, he's more scared and sad, which just made me pissed. Because it's like, my boy, my precious boy, look what you did to my son. Like, you made him scared, Myne. And, like, not that it's Myne's fault. You know whose fault it is. It's Green Scrub's fault. Friggin' guy. I hated seeing this, though. I hated seeing Lutz. When I say I hated seeing, I don't mean like, oh, the writing's so poor. It's more just like, I hated seeing Lutz upset. Because I love this kid. And the two of them share, like, a cry. Like, they have a solid cry, which if you saw the Fruba video I said the other day, or I made the other day, I said in that video, like, sometimes it's good to have a solid cry. It makes you feel better. And so the two of them just sort of crying while Google Home hangs out in the background. Fran, if you don't know who I'm talking about. For Google Home just watching them, sort of like keeping an eye on them. And it ends the scene on that note. And it is, like, admittedly an intense note to end the scene on, like, the two of them crying. But I do think it was appropriate. And like I said, sometimes you just have to have a good cry. It does make you feel better. And this leads into probably the most interesting part of the episode, for my money anyway. Going back to the start, we straight up recreate the episode 1, season 1 moment where Myne puts on the headband and everything. And I forgot how, like, vaguely creepy the scene is, like, for her to giving Myne, like, what looks like wine, and then she, like, passes out, and he, like, gets real close. I'm like, yo, this is real uncomfortable. Like, I know that he's not doing anything nefarious, but I was like, bruh, this is, I don't like that. But I do think it was interesting to see this scene, like, slightly expanded. You get, like, more dialogue than you got in the season 1, episode 1. Like, that intro was basically just to catch us up to speed. Although, in fairness, now that I really see what they're actually doing in that scene, you didn't really need that in my head. Like, now that I've seen it, like, I remember seeing a lot of people say, like, well, it's weird because now I know she's good, and now I know that Ferdy's gonna show up. Like, I know that everything up until that point is fine, and it felt like it wasn't needed in that moment. And I can kind of see that. But I was always like, no, it'll probably be important. But, like, they don't, like, when he says, like, I'm looking into your past, I don't really think they do. Like, they more look into Urano's past, not so much Myne's past. You know what I mean? Like, maybe he did it very briefly, and what we've seen up until now was just what he saw. I don't know. But it did make it retroactively makes that scene in episode 1 feel sort of out of place, which I was like, oh, that's interesting. But at the same time, I didn't really care, and it definitely doesn't hurt this episode. In fact, if anything, it sort of weakens episode 1, but makes the season 2 finale a little bit stronger, because you're like, oh snap, we're going back. That's cool. And it was neat to see Japan. But before we get there, I gotta say, like, the visuals, where he's, like, talking to Myne in the mindscape. He's talking to Myne in the mindscape. Crazy. But when we see, like, the weird trippy visuals, did anybody else think of Scott Pilgrim? Was that just me? It's probably just me. But it reminded me of the Scott Pilgrim opening with, like, all the sketchy, like, drawing on the camera lenses type thing. That's what it reminded me of. I'm sure I'm losing a lot of people because I don't know if necessarily everybody in my audience has seen Scott Pilgrim, but you should. It's, like, one of my favorite movies ever. But getting to Japan, it almost felt surreal to see this. Seeing Japan in Bookworm felt really weird. Like, 'cause it's like, oh yeah, Urano's from Japan. Like, that's kind of crazy. Like, I forget sometimes, right? Because, like, Myne, especially this season, and I do, again, this is, like, a criticism I have of this season. You guys have accepted that I have this, and not all of you agree, but we have been quite civil lately. We weren't quite civil when I first started having criticisms of the show, but we have been civil lately. And you guys know, like, I do think the writing of Myne has been odd this season. She has been way more kid-like than she was back in season 1. But seeing this, it's like, oh yeah, Myne is Urano. Like, she still is that person. In fact, she is mostly Urano, sort of mixed in with slight traits of Myne. Which means that Ferdy gets hella confused when he sees what Japan looks like. But it also means that we get this really good scene. And again, I have to stress, like, there's stuff with Bookworm this season that I maybe didn't enjoy all that much. But there's also other stuff that I thought was stupendous. Like moments like this, I thought hit hard. Like, with seeing Urano, like, like looking at her own memories. So we're seeing it through her eyes, seeing her sort of talk back to her mom, going like, yeah, I'll eat eventually. God, leave me alone. I'm just trying to read. Like, just like, just go away. And Arano's mom is just sort of like, well, I made you your favorite. Like, you could at least say thank you. Jeez. And like Arano just says like, God, leave me alone. And so her mom's just like, all right, whatever. So she walks down the hall, and we can be led to assume that that's potentially the last time they spoke. Like maybe the day after Arano left for work, and that's when she got crushed by the books, which is still very funny to me. But it's now retroactively really sad, because you hear Myne say like, I never got to say goodbye. I never got to apologize for being rude. This is like, that's why I think this is the last conversation they have, because she straight up says like, I never got to say thank you. I never got to say I love you. Like so I like, you have to let me go back. But obviously they can't go back. It's just a memory, right? Like she can't go back and retroactively change that. And Ferdy, you can hear, is getting like his voice is like almost shaking. Like he's like, you gotta stop this right now. You gotta knock this off, right? And Myne starts panicking like, no, Mom, like stay. And then we snap back to reality. Oh no, I'm not, sorry, I'm not gonna do that again. I've been doing that a lot lately. I'm sorry. There's a lot of snapping back to reality in the spring season, okay? But we snap back to reality. Oh, there goes gravity, and Ferdy's on the ground. And Myne and Ferdy share, honestly, kind of a sweet moment, because Ferdy has to explain like that because he's sweating and panting, and Myne's like, what the hell happened to you? And he's like, I was sharing your memories, which means I felt what you were feeling. Like they were synced, right? They were like Pacific Rim, and they were totally synchronized, which meant that he was feeling all those same emotions that Myne felt. So he gets how Myne feels now, which honestly, in hindsight, makes this next scene even more infuriating. Okay. So this next scene is Ferdy talking to cars. And you guys know how I feel about the downtown characters. Like, the downtown characters to me are the reason to watch the show. But I have been liking Cars quite a bit, like I said. Ferdy, I'm still sort of like mixed emotions on, and the rest of the church characters I don't really care too much about. I like Wilma, and I like Rosina. Gil kind of grew on me a little bit, but that's about it, right? Like, the rest of the church characters are like, nah. I mean, in fairness, that's most of the church characters, but, like, yeah, the church characters I don't like as much, but the downtown characters I think are just great, like Benno, Lutz, Myne's family. All those characters, I would rather spend time with them, like Mark and all them. But I'm concerned going into season 3 because, okay, Ferdy tells Cars everything, which is like invasion of privacy a little bit. But he tells Cars everything, and then explains that Cars should adopt Myne. Now, before anybody gets like, oh, but, hear me out, I get it, and I do understand where Ferdy's coming from. This isn't a situation where I don't get it and I think it's bad writing. No, I think it's sound writing. Ferdy would say that, and Cars would question it, because Cars is a nice guy. Because the reason why they're even talking about having Cars adopt Myne is because she's been getting trashed on by nobility, and they're just never going to change the way they feel about her. No matter what she does, it's not very likely that everybody's going to be cool with her. You're going to get people like Green Scrub, right? So I get that, but what would that mean for Myne's family? If Cars adopts her, are we ever going to see the downtown crew again? Would she be allowed to go downtown? Like, what would that entail? I'm very concerned. I'll be honest with you guys, and you guys know me. I've been quite honest with these. I don't like where we're going. Like, if that's where we're going, I'm going to be really disappointed. That is not what I want to see. I don't want that. I want Cars to be in the show. I love Cars. You guys, like, I've just said in this video how much I like Cars. I like Cars a lot. I don't want to see that. I really don't want to see that. The scene at Myne's place where she tells everybody how much she cares and loves them, that didn't feel like she was, like, not, like, okay, first of all, yes, it was very clearly her saying that because of how she felt about her mom when she was Arano, and how she never got to say goodbye and thank you and how much she loves them. She tells her new family that, And this felt less like her righting a wrong and more like her saying goodbye, which I swear to God, I will probably drop the show. I kid you not, if you get rid of those characters. Those are the characters that I watch for. Don't get rid of them. Even the credits, like where we're checking in with all these characters leading into a potential season 3. And again, I say potential, but it feels like it's gonna happen. But leading into the potential season 3, it felt more like we were checking in with these characters just to say goodbye. And I swear to G, I swear, that better not happen. Don't let that happen. It's gonna happen. I can feel it in my bones. Oh man, I don't know how I feel about that. And that's the thing too, right? I don't know how I feel about this finale now, because everything else I was like, this is really good. But that new plot development makes me very nervous. And now I'm gonna have to sit on that for who knows how long, probably months until we get the next season. Oh man, I don't know. What do you guys think? I'm nervous. I'm gonna end this video here, but man, I'm nervous. I'm gonna wrap up this video here. What a weird note to end the finale on. I'm sorry. I wanted to be more upbeat. I was like really excited because a lot of people were telling me that like the finale does something really interesting, and I think people like are gonna be. God, I hate letting you guys down. I hate making you guys be like disappointed and angry with me. I hope you're not, because I'm only saying this because of how much I care about the downtown characters. So I'm concerned. I'm concerned, but at the same time, the writing in the second half of the show, like don't get me wrong, the first half of the show was messy, but the writing in the second half I felt really got stronger. So I'm hoping it continues to keep that writing, going into season 3. I'm gonna be hesitantly optimistic about season 3. Hesitantly optimistic. That feels good. But with that said, everybody, that's it. So if you guys enjoyed today's video, then go ahead and boop that up snoot and share if you care. And as always, I have to give a big thank you to the lovely people in the T Squadron. Look at them beautiful names. And if you too would like to join some of these beautiful names floating across your screen, then be sure to go ahead and check out that first link in the description to check out our Patreon page. For less than a cup of coffee a month, you can help keep this channel afloat, and I would sincerely appreciate it. And with all that said, that's gonna wrap up today's video. So I am going to try to duck spoilers for this series for the next few months, and until next time, you stay classy, AnyTube, and wash your dang hands.